Attorney General Jeff Sessions just saying, quote, I ordered the Deputy General to conduct an immediate review of our process here at the Department of Justice and FBI to ensure that we reach the highest level of prompt and effective response to indications of potential violence that come to us. Now, this has been triggered by the FBI admitting it got a very pointed warning just 6 weeks ago about Nicholas Cruz and his potential threat as a school shooter, and yet agents did nothing. That admission comes as we also learn the Broward County Sheriff's Department received at least 36 emergency calls to Cruz's home, where he lived with his mother and younger brother. Major red flags that were all ignored. How could this happen? Well, we want to bring in now John Iannarelli. He is a former FBI special agent and spokesman, also author of the book How to Spot a Terrorist Before It Is Too Late. Okay, John, the detail was quite shocking that came out this afternoon of the FBI admitting, look, we actually had a concerned citizen leave on an FBI tip line very pointed warning about this young man, saying that, look, he loves guns, he's put some very disturbing things on social media, and yes, could be a potential school shooter. I mean, but it turns out none of this was passed on to the field office in Miami. In fact, nothing was done at all. What's your reaction to that?
It's extremely unfortunate because the FBI relies on the public's assistance to be able to try to prevent these types of crimes or solve them when they occur. Obviously, something broke down during the way, but it could very well be because the FBI receives so much information, deciding how you're going to triage, what is going to be looked at immediately versus what is going to be looked at later on. It's not just a school shooter. It's information on terrorists and other things that every day the FBI is being inundated with.
But you know what strikes me is that this individual actually came to the FBI's attention back in September when a person who runs a video log said that this individual, Nicholas Cruz, or at least someone who identified himself as Nicholas Cruz, left a message saying he was a professional school shooter. This person called the FBI, was interviewed the very next day, and yet again, nothing was done. My question is, if this name came up in September and then again on an FBI tip line 6 weeks ago, is there no database where these things are put in where they could have said, wait a minute, this has come up before?
There is a database, and that's why clearly something broke down in the process. It could be the computer system itself didn't relay the information, or whoever was supposed to physically move it on to the Miami office so that the agents in Miami could do their job failed to do so. They need to figure out what happened to make sure it doesn't happen again. However, while not making any excuses, it's important to realize this is going on multiple times a day in every single city, and the FBI is responding to these things. There are thousands of leads daily, and the FBI has to cover every single one of them. It's not the success of the one you prevent, it's the one you miss that causes all the problems.
Yeah, I understand that. I know that people are working very hard, and this is the last thing that anyone wants to happen. Is it a resource issue that they just do not have enough people to cover the amount of tips and warnings that come in like this?
The FBI, along with law enforcement in general, there's not enough people. The FBI has what Congress will afford the FBI to have, whether it be bodies or finances, etc. We have roughly 12,000 agents in the entire world that cover every single of the 400-plus violations for the FBI. But this is serious, and this rises to the top of the list of the things that need to be looked at, yet we can only do with what we have.
We just heard from Attorney General Jeff Sessions is talking about he's going to launch an investigation into this. The governor of Florida, Rick Scott, says that Christopher Wray should step down as the head of the FBI. What are your thoughts on that?
Obviously, they need to look at what caused the problem so that it never happens again, because the results are absolutely tragic. But having Director Wray step down is obviously overreaching and, frankly, ridiculous. Director Wray has taken good stewardship of the FBI, and no one more than him wants to make sure something like this never happens again. While it's a problem, it will be addressed, and I have full confidence it will be fixed.
How does something like this happen, John? You're an former FBI agent. I mean, I worry that there are many disaffected young men out there, or women for that matter. You know, he was expelled from school. He's kind of angry, kind of lost, has a fixation on guns. I wonder how many other kids are out there right now that are also perhaps a bit of a ticking time bomb.
Absolutely. And I think that's important to note. Remember, the FBI's job is to try to get in there and prevent this or stop it in the course long before. The ultimate responsibility is the person who commits these sort of crimes. And those persons are out there. But it's not just the FBI who we don't know until you call the FBI. What about the friends, the family, the people around them? They need to be actively engaged as well. And it appears many knew something, but few came forward with any information.
All right, as we look at pictures of President Trump at Joint Base Andrews, he's going to be getting on Air Force One, heading down to Florida for the weekend, maybe stopping by Parkland, Florida, of course, where the high school is located. I just want to switch gears a little bit, if I can, John, talk about the announcement of the indictments of 13 Russians meddling in the United States in the election. We actually just got a quote from a tweet from President Trump on this. He says, quote, Russia started their anti-U.S. campaign in 2014, long before I announced that I would run for president. The results of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong. No collusion. But there's no doubt, John, that the Russians spent a lot of time and effort to try and create discourse in this country. Are you surprised at the depth to which they were able to do that?
Not surprised at all. Anybody within the FBI and most of government has known for years that the Russians are not necessarily our friends. Right. Not referring to the people, but the government. And it was years ago, even Mitt Romney had referred to Russia as being the #1 threat, which seemed to surprise many people. Right. Those in law enforcement know they are a threat.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. We're running out of time. But thank you so much, John Iannarelli, for discussing those topics with us. We appreciate it, John. And we will be right back.